without no further ado, I'd like to welcome to the stage Dana Noble, who is Senior Sustainability Specialist Footwear and Accessories, and Nicolo Giusti, who is Director Sourcing and Production Footwear at PVH and Tommy Hilfiger. Thank you.
So first of all, Dana, well, let's introduce ourselves. So I'm Nicolo.
You can see us right there.
Exactly, that's what we said. So I'm the guy with the white shirt, and I'm working Tommy Hilfiger in footwear, working on sustainability, traceability projects since 10 years, more than 10 years there, and with passion about sustainability. And Dana?
I can attest to his passion, very passionate. I'm Dana. I'm part of the sustainable product team at PVH, and I'm specifically responsible for sustainable strategy within our footwear and accessories, as well as our circular design strategies.
Great, and here we are. More and more people are coming. You see, they hear the calling out.
Great.
So I think
Great.
we can go to the next slide. And what are we going to talk about today, Dana?
So if you've read the agenda, I think I, at this point, have it memorized. We are going to talk about the timeline of biomaterial use in PVH or Tommy Hilfiger footwear. Where did we start? Where are we now? Where would we like to go? And what do we need from the biomaterial industry to get us there?
A long journey that started 2020 already. You were not there in the company yet.
Honestly, Nicolo, we started even before then because I'm not sure how much understanding a lot of the people here have of the textile industry, but just because the product comes to market doesn't mean that we just started working on it. Right. Within our team, we generally start working on products about 1.5 years before they hit markets. And so with our first product, our Apple PU shoe, which I'm wearing here, the upper, we actually started working on this in 2018, before it came to market in 2020. Do you want to tell us about it?
Yeah, I think we were the first brand of using a bio-based material for the upper to substitute to leather, let's say. And it was pretty successful. It was a good campaign, and I think we're very, very proud of it. That was still 24% of bio-based content.
Okay.
And then we didn't stop there, right?
No, we actually then went into our Bloom EVA midsole. So Bloom Foam is an algae-based biomaterial supplier, and the midsole Nicolo is so kindly pointing at. And we started with a 5% load. Now, 5% sounds very minimal, but at the time, and I think even still relevant today, 5% is a huge win. It got a foot in the door, and it set the tone for the next biomaterial that we found in our next styles, which is our outsole. So the outsole, I think it's pretty straightforward. It's the outer part of the sole. With our pull slides, when we started using an even higher percentage, we started using it at a 10% Bloom EVA. But that didn't stop us, because even still today...
But it was not easy to get there. You are making too easy, Dana. That was not easy, because we had a lot of technical issue. You do remember, but I was there, and there was like, OK, color, no, we cannot make lighter color. Okay. The cost, is too expensive. This is double of the price of normal EVA. How are we going to face this? So we had to work hard with our technical team, convincing them, because nobody wants to leave their comfort zone, right? Everybody wants to do things as it is. Stay in the beach on the sun and relax and drink your mojito. But there's not like this everyday life. So. And then we get the technical team of the supplier that came to work with our technical team, with the factory we work with, and it was a great achievement, because we managed at the end to make also light color with that, and we managed to implement in all the full collection of Tommy jeans pulse light.
And we still do that today.
Exactly, and we're still doing that today. So it was difficult, it was tough, but we made it. So it needs long term, but we didn't stop there.
No, we did not. The next thing we did in pre-spring of 23 is a bio-veg upper with coronet.
Exactly, and then we raised up still the upper material, but we raised up from 24% where we had the apple skin to 74% with a viscose backing on the material that allows us to increase the percentage. I want to stop 1 second now that there's more people. I want to say, so we are going to keep a few minutes for the end, for the Q&A, so please prepare your question, because we are first going to make a question to you, and then you're going to make a question to us, right?
Get ready. We're putting you on the spot.
And we didn't stop that, right?
We still haven't stopped.
Right.
Next, we had banana tex. And so banana tex is actually a fiber. So it was the first biomaterial that we used that was a textile instead of a material.
Yeah, that also was not easy, but they made the production was very nice material, very expensive, so difficult to scale up, but really good quality. And we go back later on that.
Yes.
We didn't stop that.
So we went to Mirum, which was our first biomaterial that was at 100% load. So if you think back to 3 minutes ago when we shared the issues we ran into getting just from a 5 to a 10% load in 21 to 22, just in 2 years, we were able to go from 5% to 100%. And I think that really says something about the scale at which the biomaterial industry is really moving.
Yeah, of course, different type of material, different type of use of the material, and so on. And here was still too expensive, not scalable. We made a nice sample, but let's see. Also, look-wise, we still need to work on that. But we didn't stop there.
Nope. The next stop, Nicolo is actually modeling our beautiful Hypholite shoes. They're another biomaterial at 100% load using oyster mushrooms. And so throughout our entire supply chain, or throughout this entire timeline, we've used apple, algae, corn, banana, mushroom, and mycelium. So we've really explored different types of feedstocks, different materials, and different applications within our footwear. But we're not done yet.
Yeah, and I think the last thing I want to add here is that then the price was scalable, the product was scalable, we managed to get a reasonable price product. The look was not yet there. The look is something that is stopping us, and then we still are working on that to get, because there's not a less sustainable product than a product that nobody wants to buy. We need to keep this in our mind. We need to make product that we love to buy first. If we don't like it, nobody will like it. Nobody will buy just because it's sustainable. So that's the combination of the things. But that's not only the thing that can stop us, right?
No, we actually run into a lot of issues, but they're not going to stop us. In March of 2022, the EU announced the EU Strategy for Sustainable and Circular Textiles. This was not the first industry to receive such a package of really robust regulations saying exactly how we're going to standardize the industry of textiles and apparel, footwear included. But we were the most recent, and one of the benefits to the European Commission on that is that they've done it before, so they're able to do it faster and faster than when they've regulated other industries. And so in March 22, we were hit almost like a train by over 30 new regulations that we need to figure out how we're going to comply to. And that actually impacted our banana textile, which was the first biomaterial that we weren't able to communicate on. And what I mean by that is generally when you are in stores, you see a sustainable style, you say, you see a hang tag and it maybe says, this has banana text made from banana leaves that are spun into a fiber in place of traditional cotton, for example. It was the first product that we were not able to tell that story on because of these new regulations. That doesn't stop us from using it. As we mentioned, we're continuing to use the Bloom EVA at a 10%, even though we're not communicating on that.
But also we find a different way. We try to find different way how to communicate. Because the problem is that if you put an end tag of something, you write something on the end tag, and the product will go in the market in 10 months from now, and in the meantime, legislation will change, then you cannot go to every store and remove the end tag, right? So we said, let's put a QR code in the shoes, where we still channel the message through a QR code. If something changes in the meantime, we are still able to retrieve and drive the message into the right direction, where we can communicate with our customer and still comply with the law. So that's, I think, was the workway around. We are still using QR code for several reasons, also for marketing purpose, and we see the traction that is huge. The people scan, almost everybody scan the QR code. We have 500, 600 scan per week, so, and that's customer that link directly with us. We avoid all the chain of the distribution where you pass, I say something to Dana say something to Paul to someone else, and then at the end the message is diluted. So in this way you can really go straight to the phone, at least for 3 seconds, straight to the phone of the final user.
Exactly. And so it really opens the door for a lot of opportunities for some of the hurdles that we face, which we've outlined here. Hopefully it's simple enough for everyone to comprehend. And so the question that we have at this point is that we need to work together as an industry. We're one industry working towards one goal, right? We want to scale up the bio content of our materials, and we want to scale up the usability of these biomaterials. And we want to remove our dependency away from petroleum-based products. I think even though we're coming at this from a footwear perspective, almost everyone in this room can align from their own perspective as well. And what are some things that we from a footwear industry are really struggling with to get us there? The first is on a performance level. So these are shoes, right? We need them to protect our feet. We need to be able to walk step by step by step. I know a lot of people are doing the 10,000, 20,000 steps a day challenge. Your feet need the support from your shoes. And we need biomaterials that can continue to support our feet during our long days, during our journey from one place to the next.
Not only to work, but also to run, because then the guys from On may jump here and say, hey, we're also running. So, and that's very high performance. You need really high performance there. So that's a very good point. But
exactly. Then we need to be able to market it. I think everyone here is very familiar with that it's not cool, it's not sexy, we don't want to talk about it. So how do we make it cool and sexy? How do we make it something that a consumer really wants to hear, that consumers are getting off of their couches and going into the stores or going online and purchasing these products because the message that we say about these biomaterials are resonating with them? And then how do we do that in a way that conforms with the regulatory compliance? So how do we do that from a brand perspective? We need to have chain of custody. We need to be able to say, yes, there is banana leaf in this. There is mycelium in this. There are apple waste in here. Here's the proof that this is actually a waste product from the apple industry. Here's the proof that the apple actually made it into this PU. Here's the proof that that PU is actually what is on your product. And there are so many issues at every single step of that proof. But things like the QR code come in handy there. But that's another area where we need to work as an industry to make sure that we have that proof at every single step of the way. And we have made progress there, but it's at this point not enough to get us to where we need to go. And lastly, I think one of the questions that we heard before is what is going on with circularity? There's so much innovation going on to increase the bio threshold, to increase the usability of these materials. But what I'm not hearing as much of is what do we do at the end of the life, especially with shoes? There's only so much that we can do. You walk on them every single day. They're really worn down. I think we all can imagine a pair of shoes that we've had for 2, 3, 4 years that the sole is just completely removed. What do we do then? How can we recycle these products? We run into issues with mechanical recycling because they gum up the machines. Mechanical recyclers don't want to recycle PU and PU-type materials. We have biodegradability, but the ISO standard doesn't apply the lab to the actual real world. And even if we do find a real-world setting, we found one composting facility in the south of the Netherlands that has the scale to take our products back and compost them. But how do we then get those products back? So again, we need to work as an industry to make sure that we can enable circularity.
There's a lot of struggle. There's a lot of difficulty that comes here. But I want to bring you to the real life, to the daily life we have. Every day we work together, me and Dana, so I come up, or you come up with the bio-based material, right?
Yep.
Across all these issues that we have seen here, what is the main issue that you think is really blocking us to really say, okay, let's push for the bio-based material?
I think right now is the issue of chain of custody and traceability. There's a number of materials on the market that we haven't been able to use because we haven't been able to market it because they come at a price premium. And our marketing teams and our merchandising teams want to talk about it, want to make it sexy, want to make the consumers come off and purchase our products. But because of the regulatory requirements and that traceability to conform to those requirements, we really struggle there. And so I'm not saying we need to change the regulations, but we need to change the way that we're conforming to them. And I think that's something that can be said for the entire industry. We were just mentioning before we came on here how it's really difficult to even go back to the cotton plant that developed the cotton that made my T-shirt. And so how are we supposed to do that when we deal with waste-based feedstocks? It's an added layer. We have we have a lot of players in the supply chain.
But then the last question I make, and then we give to the audience the questions. The last question I make, and to make to the audience later on, how can we sit down all together and define what is bio-based material? Because the final customer, they don't know. I give them a bio-based material and they're like, okay, what does that mean? There's not a standard. There's not a way to to have a clear traceability. There's not a chain of custody behind that. So the problem for me as a brand is that if someone come back to me and say, yeah, you say that this is bio-based, how can you prove it? there's not a standard that say, this is the standard, I show you this.
Yeah.
So there's nothing. Who is going to protect me? So
Yeah.
that's a little bit the issue I have as a brand.
So one thing that we've done from a Tommy perspective is we've reached out and partnered with FDRA, Footwear Distributors and Retailers of America, who operate similarly to Fashion for Good in some aspects, where they serve as a meeting place to bring different people together that might not have been otherwise brought together, and said to them, hey, we need this. There are other footwear brands that also need this. And they also went to Andy at FDRA and said, we need this. We need you to come together. And so that's sparked a bit of a revolution for Andy. And so he's busy working on that for us. But I think that we can also really leverage other organizations like Fashion for Good and Textile Exchange to say, hey, we as an industry really need to come together and set our standards.
That's great that we conclude like this, because we started last year exactly with Andy. I was the first time here, and Andy and Paul invited me to be here, and then when we start, and that's probably the reason why we are here. So, and then I leave it to the public and to the people here to suggest how we can connect better to create a clear standard for the final customer to understand bio-based material, but also to make us question right now. Please raise your hand. We always answer to question, even the most difficult one. I will leave it to Dana.
Hello, Max from Biosimo. You just said there's no way for you to check chain of custody. Have you guys ever considered carbon dating?
Sorry,
Have you ever considered carbon-14 dating for your materials?
So there's different test methods, I think, that are available. The most standard is the ATSM D6866 test method, which is the beta analytics, and the USDA test method for both, which are pretty industry standard. But they test for carbon backing, for carbon base, but they don't prove that it's coming from an apple or a banana or a cotton plant or a tree. They just say this has X% bio content. And so we can prove that it has a bio content, but we can't necessarily prove where it comes from.
And I think you also need to make sure that all your production, right, the full production, not only a single product, not only a single test of a product, is like that. You have to prove basically the full mass balance of your production, right? So I hope that answers your question, even though it's not a solution, but.
Yeah, I mean, carbon dating is like the most straightforward thing to say. It's fossil, it's not fossil. And carbon isotope dating is also the best way to limit it to a region.
Yeah, I mean, it is a good option. I think it's a good option and something that the industry need to align in the future. Right now, there is not. It's not something that the customer will recognize. It's not something that the legislation would say, yes, you use carbon-14 to prove this. So, but that's, I think, could be the right direction. Any other question out there?
There's no further questions. I think we can give everyone 2 minutes and 17 seconds back for their day.
And you get one more coffee?
Yep.
No, we have enough. Okay, thank you very much then, and have a nice day.